Hello, movie lovers, and today we're actually going to be reviewing our Game of Thrones House of the Dragon spoiler review for episode 7. I have my good friend Nick here with me, of course, and I also have Mr. Midnight himself, and that is none other than... We're excited to be here. We're excited to be able to talk about this House of the Dragon, and let's go ahead. Let's get on with the show right here. All right. Let's try this. And hello, movie lovers.
Technology is a son of a bitch.
All right. All right. I think we got the bugs worked out, I think. Hopefully. Okay. So... Everything okay? Do I sound all right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you sound good through here.
It's still kind of laggy. All right. What about... Hold on. Let me see what's going on real quick.
For sure.
I don't know what's going on. Okay. What about now?
Can hear you, yeah.
Okay, finally. Okay. So, here we are, once again, doing House of the Dragon, episode 7. And if it wasn't for technology, I don't know what we would be doing. So, anyways, I'm going to go on here and give a little bit of a plot points on this episode. And that is the fact that this episode is actually called Driftmark. King Viserys and his court attend Lady Lyanna's funeral in Driftmark. Rhaenyra and Daemon reunite on the physical intimate, and intimate as it is. Princess Aemond claims Vhagar as his dragon, leading to an altercation with his cousins, which is really putting it lightly. And nephews in which Lacerys slashes Aemond's eye. That's one way to lose an eye. But anyways, that's going to be the plot points for tonight's episode, and this is what we're going to be talking about. So, here's the thing. And here's the thing that I really liked about this episode is because of the fact that we actually get to see a funeral, and the reason why I like it is because we get to see other cultures and other people on how they actually do their funerals and how they celebrate the fact that, trying to deal with the loss of someone that they care about and love. You know what I mean? Because we've seen it with other cultures, other religions and stuff like that within the Game of Thrones universe. And I like the fact that they winded up doing this for this episode. And just showing us a little bit of the culture background of it. And then, of course, you wind up seeing this darkness that's laid up over the castle, laid over the grounds. And this is like the calm before the storm kind of settle of this darkness and over this whole entire surroundings. So what did you guys think of of this episode?
That's something that I definitely resonated with and like picked up right away. It was like, obviously, the weather over the top of the scene is causing, some real foreshadowing to be, cast over them. Like, obviously some dark shit's happening. We just lost a princess. Like, the family's tattered right now. And I don't know, I just thought it was a really good way of kind of displaying that. And it got a lot of flack online. And I'm like, that didn't really deserve that. I thought it was a nice, creative way to shoot the scene, doing it in like, the early morning.
Yeah. What stood out to me, like John said, definitely the funeral.
Yeah.
When I was watching it, I actually was thinking that maybe this was something that the Greyjoys do.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not the exact same, but maybe slightly different, because they are all tied to the sea.
Mm-hmm.
And so
I think about that. That's good.
That's what I was like, man, yeah. Like, and so I was thinking to myself, I'm like, man, that's a lot of bodies that were under there, because that you can see in the background too.
Yeah.
And like, I like what you said. I myself didn't notice. Well, I noticed it was dark, but it didn't really. I was so focused on like what was going on as far as the characters amongst the funeral. I didn't notice how the sky really looked. And you're right. The clouds were dark, and then did you notice how later on in the episode, I think the lighting just got darker?
Yeah.
So
I was reading that they did that on purpose. They kind of cast that like the full day has gone through kind of, and like, it's all happening basically in an evening into an early morning.
For sure.
At least, like, Damon stuff with Rhaenyra and that whole side of the story. So I think they were trying to kind of cast like not only a dark light on the scene, but also literally show you that physically this event has been going on now for a little while. They take their funeral proceedings very seriously, unless you're Aegon Targaryen, in which case you just get
extremely drunk.
Quickly becoming my favorite character.
What did you think of Damon laughing in that moment?
That I was a little shocked by. Obviously very on par for his character, but I don't know. I thought, maybe although they had their issues, like, maybe she was like his wife that he actually liked, and with respect.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't have tainted his character at all if he did that, but
because you notice, like, even when that was said, when he started laughing, you could see the look on Corliss's face and the brother's face. And it's just like,
yeah,
we might have to deal with this guy or something, Hey, John.
Hey, had a little bit of computer difficulties and everything, but I think I managed to get the Knicks out of this. So,
no, I'm still here.
Ha! Are you also from New York?
No. Bulls, baby.
There you
go. Our year starts now. Though if we tank and got Victor, I'd be very happy. Yeah.
But yeah, what were you guys talking about before I had to make my leave real quick?
So we were just talking about the Damon laugh at the funeral. And, we both making points that, like, felt like he maybe didn't need to do that, but still obviously on par with his character. I think that's definitely going to be used against him and Rhaenyra when the Valyrians join Alicent, I think.
I can see that because of the simple fact is, he's going to do what Damon's going to do, like they said at the very beginning of this episode. Damon's out for Damon. He doesn't care about anybody else but him.
Yeah.
But although he always had a thing for Rhaenyra, though, but also, too, I feel like he does care about her in that kind of way and stuff like that. But it's also the timing of it was really bad because of the fact he laughed. And then, of course, you wind up seeing that one scene where he's basically just making love to her as Rhaenyra. And now you're going to have that whole entire thing shaken now because of what's going on. So you're going to have basically the child who ended up stabbing the other child in the eye. And then you're going to have this piled on top of it. So it's like, okay, well, we went from having bastards now to having an affair to this.
So something tells me because the jump in time is going to be, I think, another 10 years for for this next episode. Maybe a little less. It might be fewer, but I think the marriage might have been rushed in the episode, but everybody might have already known about it, or like we won't get to see like what happens from that, other than like hearsay after the fact, because it's going to be so much later.
It's supposed to be another jump in the next episode.
Yeah.
Huh. So now I'm just wondering, how many? What is the show going to run around like 4 seasons or something, or because like how are we going to carry out the story over this?
This is supposed to be the last jump.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
because like
really
what they were
just be about
setting
the
up
kids.
is basically Rhaegar, the dragon, happened to get a new owner, so they kind of like phased it out, right? Like you get Rhaenyra being named the heir instead of Aegon. You have the Rhaegar part of the series, and now we're getting to the real meat and bones of it, of the civil war between House of Valyrian and Targaryen.
Okay.
And it also makes sense though too, because the next episode is called The Lords of Tides, which is also dealing with basically the Corlys's crew and things like that too. And of course the other brother who says he didn't want to be a captain or anything like that, or be the So that's gonna be. I think this is gonna be him showing that he just doesn't care, and he's just doing it because of the fact that it's part of his heritage, versus it doing something willingly. So that's what I'm getting out of that whole setup for the time jump. But as far as this episode goes and everything, I was really pissed off at Alicent the whole entire time. Because and Olivia Cook, let me just tell you this: Olivia Cook's a fantastic actress, though. For me to make her feel this kind of way for somebody, I'm like, girl, you're doing a lot of damage right now, and we don't need to be doing this. But Viserys almost dying, and then you're stressing him out, and all the poor guy wants to do, like I said, build his Lego set and everything, and here you are, you're destroying everything that he wants to do. If he dies, who's going to do the opening scene for House of the Dragon? That's all I got to say. But
I have an answer for that. Aardman, stop motion, Wallace and Gromit. They'll do it.
Oh, yeah. Real out of left field kind of thing here. I like it.
But yeah, I mean, I feel like this, I really feel bad that Daemon lost his wife. And then, of course, it's just the timing, like we mentioned before, of the whole fact that you lost your wife, and now here you are with your cousin, and with your niece, and you're shaking boots with her. And now, then you also have that others, right. And then we have Hightower back again. And now he's whispering stuff in, basically in Olivia Cook's ear. And of course, it's about survival. It's about who's going to be on the throne. It's about, okay, if we go ahead and our family dies, they're going to exonate us. So we need to go ahead and exonate them before they exonate it's about that.
So the Otto decision for me was an interesting one. I thought, like, obviously for the show's purposes, it makes sense because it definitely makes for more drama. But like, wouldn't a logical king not just go back to the last guy that screwed him over because the most recent guy just died? Like, I know Allison was probably like putting it in his ear, but I don't know. He overcame him once. Why would you go back to him?
Yeah,
have an abusive relationship back then.
I just feel like Viserys is like is too nice of a king. And also, too, and I even said this whenever I had Abby on, too. I said he's very, very gullible.
And too forgiving.
And, yes. Yeah. And I like how lovable he is. I like the fact that we actually have a good king for once. I'm glad that we actually have someone that's questioning his own motives and things like that. Am I a good dude or am I not a good dude? And stuff like that. So I definitely like that within his character. And then, then he's siding with Rhaenyra over, of course, Alicent, which is totally understandable because that's his daughter. Rhaenyra's his daughter, and she's the rightful heir to the throne. And, I like how basically one of the kids winds up stealing the dragon. And then, then he has like that snarky attitude where it's like, well, I lost an eye, but I gained a dragon. I'm like, dude, you need to go. I really,
not just any dragon, Rhaegar.
Right.
Yeah, which is the biggest dragon in the world. And is fabled in Game of Thrones, the original series.
That's right.
Yeah, definitely gonna be some cool, wild stuff happening with Rhaegar pretty soon.
Is he bigger than Balerion?
No. I think he's the biggest one in existence right now in their universe, and Valerian was the biggest of it just ever.
Okay. I was gonna say about Viserys, like I think he's not a bad king. I do think he's a good he's a good king as far as trying to maintain peace. Mm-hmm. But his biggest downfall is being able to make the hard decisions. And I personally, after what Otto did, I'm going to be pretty pissed off about what I'm being told, but you were spying on my daughter. I'm going to keep you away as far as possible. So when I noticed that, because I watched the opening scene twice now, and I noticed that he had the hand on his chest. I wasn't sure. I wasn't thinking at the moment. I wasn't thinking to myself, well, is he with Viserys now, or was he with Corlys? Mm-hmm. Obviously, Corlys isn't king, but I was just wondering how he got the hand back so quick. But I don't know. Yeah, I just feel like he's. I never really liked Otto. I never liked Otto, so I just don't trust him. So I don't know why Viserys trust him right now either.
See, at first I trusted Otto at first because of the fact that it was about survival and it was about trying to look out for Alicent, which is something I understand. And then, of course, you wind up falling into the trap of being on Alicent's side at the very first couple of episodes. And then once you start seeing her development change after Otto puts that in her head, because that was never her first intentions at all.
Right.
He's the one who put that in her head. Mm-hmm. So now it's where she's filled up with all this stuff that Otto's telling her. So it's like, okay, well, now I got to prepare my children before Rhaenyra's children goes ahead and kills my children. Mm-hmm. And so therefore we have to try and basically survive. With Rhaenyra, on the other hand, that's not even crossing her mind. It's about trying to build the relationship with their families and try to unite them to where they're not on each other's nerves or anything like that either. So Rhaenyra is just trying to help the situation and things like that. Yeah. It's Alicent's side of the family that, after Otto talking to her, it's like, well, okay, well, if that's the case, I'm going to go ahead and get her before she gets me, so I have to prepare my kids whenever they're born. And we actually see that, especially when Joey Jerkoff is jerking off on that poor room that Joffrey winds up killing himself on. The poor room's been through enough. Now here he is dropping loads on everybody.
Blood. Ooh, no.
And let's just say it's not a good day to be a bird. No, either it's going to be the bird or it's going to be him, so it might as well be him. So anyways, we have Joey Jerkoff doing that stuff. And then, basically Alicent slapping up beside the head, hey, what the heck you're doing? You're the heir to the throne. I'm trying to prepare you for war. While Rhaenyra's over here doing whatever she's doing with her bastard children, you're acting like an imbecile, doing the teenage stuff that you're not supposed to be doing, getting yourself into trouble. I'm trying to prepare you in case if anything happens with Rhaenyra. So I understand her frustration. But, it's just a motherly love kind of situation where she's trying to help guide them, and they're doing adolescent stuff. And these are teenagers. So, of course, they're going to act stupid.
Yeah, I think that was a preview for one of the future Avatar movies. Apparently, one of the subtitles is The Seed Bearer. So, I think he was getting us ready for that.
The Seed
Crazy. It's a crazy title, right? I know. But like, I just feel as though the kids, all of them, they're crazy in their own ways. Like, but I completely understand why Jacaerys and Lucerys stood up for their cousins. Like the other two, they're dicks for no reason at all. And I think it's really just not only with Alicent in their ear, but there's like this arrogance to them. And I'm like, well, where does that come from? Because Viserys isn't that. Unless Otto has been having a hand in raising them in a certain way, I don't know. But
so part of the Targaryen lore is that every generation has a good and a bad, basically. So I think we're kind of starting to see that play out where Rhaenyra is the good Targaryen of this batch. Aegon is obviously mischievous. We don't know fully yet if he's good or bad, but probably bad. And then Aemon, who took over Rhaegar, I think he's about to be a real problem.
Yeah. And it refers to the coin flip, too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then, of course, here's the thing, too. I'm thinking, too, with Alicent having that stuff in her head with Otto, she has to drill that into their head. So, therefore, that's why it's that hate that's there. Because hate is taught. It's not something you're born with.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's something that I'm thinking, though, too. And, I also like how I don't mean to call them the bastard children, but I like how the children...
That's what they are.
Right.
Everybody knows.
I like how the kid doesn't know what to say to the other cousin, and he's just there. And sometimes it's just best at a funeral of not saying anything and comforting somebody, knowing that they're there. And that's what I figured that he was doing. Yeah. He doesn't know what to say, so he's like, you know what? I'm just going to be here in the moment.
Well, he's hurting too. After losing his father, his real father.
Yeah. Speaking of real fathers, or surrogate fathers, what's up with the whole Laenor thing at the end?
Okay, so what I'm thinking is this, okay? It's like, I know you're not happy being with me or anything like that. And I know you're miserable doing what here's the thing, he's not there for the kids. Clearly, he's not there for the kids. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been getting into a tussle or anything like that towards the end of the show.
Right.
So therefore, he always comes in whenever there's a lot of drama. He goes, "Oh, I'm sorry, I was off banging this other dude." So what did I miss? So basically, she's basically saying this. Look, man, this is just not working out the way that we wanted to work out. We had an agreement. It's not working out. Look, what we're gonna do is we're gonna stage your death, so you can be happy and do whatever you want to do. And I'm gonna go off marry my cousin, because it's in the laws of the Targaryen. And I can bang my cousin, but I can't bang anybody else. So I might as well go ahead and do this. So, I didn't read that lawful book.
I just like how they did the faking of the death. Go, for one, I mean, they know that his boyfriend that he's seeing at the time is a swashbuckler in the true sense, not in Laenor's sense. And so he could obviously best him, pay him off handsomely, fake the death. All of a sudden, they've got money. They've got their out. They can go off together and see the world, or fuck off and do whatever the hell they want. Yeah. A lot of that.
But yeah.
Bruno.
Oh, jeez. Oh, my gosh. Oh, man.
But what I have to say, though, is this. I definitely like how they did this scene, though. It kind of reminds me of like a mafia type of hit. What they did. It's very Michael Corleone at the funeral kind of thing, where basically you have this one setup where basically Daemon's taking out somebody for the queen, and he's telling her, hey, look, in order for you to be a queen, you have to be feared. In order for you to be feared, you got to do step 1, step 2, and step 3. So he goes on ahead. He talks to one of the people on the streets. He winds up getting beef with the other person, and guess what? He takes out that person. Then next thing you know, he's moving these chess pieces in the right way, in the right direction to show how it's supposed to be maneuvered. And that's one of the things that I really liked about Daemon, though. He's someone of the people. He's out there in the streets. He knows how to survive out on the streets, and he also knows how to survive in the kingdom as well. So he's got street smarts, and he's got book smarts at the same time. So basically, what better way to do this to get someone that you don't even know to try and whack somebody? And of course, him being somebody on the streets, he can easily talk and persuade people into doing what he wants them to do.
No,
with the victim.
Exactly. But I definitely like how it was staged up for that. I definitely like the fight between Laenor, I think that's what you said his name was?
Laenor, yeah.
Yeah, Laenor. I definitely like that scene. And then, of course, at first I thought, little douchebag on the beach, the one that stole the dragon, I thought that he was watching Rhaenyra get on with the uncle, but clearly it was just after the dragon for a minute because it looked like that's what he was doing.
Yeah.
I'm like, is he?
Why he's so messed up?
But I just feel bad that these kids are in this situation, and they're putting. Here's the thing: Allison's putting them in the middle of adult problems, and not facing them and trying to kind of have control the situation. Has all this stuff filled in with what Otto had said to the point where it's blinding her own judgment.
Yeah. So one thing I just thought of on that, actually, I think it might be more relevant with Aegon because she's trying to slap sense into him. Whereas with Aemon, I think all the teasing and bullying from his older brother and his cousins has kind of maybe created this monster, which is why he was like, screw you guys, I can get a dragon. Like, I'm going to go get the biggest dragon that we have and make it mine. And he did that all because they teased him with the pig with wings. So it's all,
which is understandable. I can understand the motivation behind that because that would actually piss me off as a kid and them making fun of me. And then like, okay, well, you know what? Since they think that I'm the weakest person, I know what I'm going to do is it's like knocking out the biggest person in the jail cell and to make her so the way, you're not a victim. So therefore, what are you going to do? You're going to go ahead and get the biggest dragon you can find. It's like, oh yeah? Well, you're going to mess with me? Guess what? Now I got a dragon. Now what you going to do?
I mean, no, that's the absolute truth. I just feel like with the story and the background like that we're getting set up for Aemon, he is definitely going to be someone to be feared for sure. I could even see him going as far as maybe a Ramsay Bolton.
Ooh.
Just off the way that they really treated him now, he's got this big dragon. Anybody who crosses him, we'll just pull a Daenerys. Dracarys. No problem. Just takes them out every single time. So, I just think that he's going to be on the blood spree, and I think Aegon is going to probably be the one to try to refocus him because I think that's what Allison is really trying to get him to do is focus. And with her focusing so much on him instead of Aemon, eventually Aegon's going to have to get to a point and think in his mind, well, my brother's acting crazy. Like, what am I going to do? Or how can I help? Maybe he becomes a turncoat at some point. I don't know.
Yeah, kills them all, maybe.
Yeah, so.
Part of something that Joffrey says, and John, we talked about this in the last episode.
Right.
Joffrey in the original Game of Thrones, when he's giving, oh my gosh, I always forget her name.
Sansa,
thank you. No, it was later. It was
okay.
Oh, Marjorie.
Yeah. Thank you. When he's giving her a tour of
Mm-hmm.
castle, he's like in the torture room going over some of the Targaryen history in there. And he's like, oh, these are the ashes of Rhaena Targaryen. She was killed by Rhaegar when her brother turned on her, basically. So we know something like that's going to happen. So I'm curious if he's going to turn Rhaegar on the rest of the family too, and kind of just go full blown mad Targaryen, and really just dive into the whole manic, obsessive kind of tyrant.
That would make sense though, because here's the thing: I'm thinking that Corell's people is going to die. That's there. I was actually thinking about this whenever I was watching this episode. You don't really realize how small that family actually is until they actually present it to us. Because basically he thinks that his son's dead, so therefore you can actually say that now the family's gotten smaller. Then you also have the daughter that killed herself. So basically that family is dying off to the point where they're the weakest link. So they can't even go to war anymore if they wanted to. Now, at the very beginning of the season, they were very strong. They were still will. They had everything that they wanted because remember, it's like, look, we got gold, we got ships, we have all this stuff. And now it's like we have the small family now. And now it's like they don't even know where to go. And even his own wife is questioning Corell's own motives, so too. It's like, you've been after this crown since a decade now. I decided to give it up a long time ago, but you're still chasing it. So that's another thing too. They're so small that they can't even do anything. So basically they need the Targaryens. They need them.
But which ones? That is the question.
They're gonna have to suck it up, man. I think they might have to side with Damon. I don't know.
So,
I know. Yeah, I know.
weighing the options, right?
Mhm.
Damon came to their rescue, beat the Triarchy.
Yep. Killed the crab feeder.
Yeah, would not have done that without him. All the resources were tied up with that. Other side of the coin, though, Rhaenyra kind of, represents some negativity in their life.
Mm-hmm.
Damon swooped in and took her after their son was murdered. That would definitely be a big slap in the face. Kind of worse than, someone taking someone else's dragon.
Yeah.
Birthright it was. So, a lot of.
I mean, you've even got the whole thing with them beating on the cousins.
Yeah.
Like Bayla, was it Bayla and Layla, I think?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that whole squabble. So,
mm-hmm.
Or maybe they just go completely neutral. Let's just go Switzerland on it. Like, yeah, we're staying out of this.
Yeah, I hope so. But I mean, we saw the one holding hands with the oldest bastard.
Oh, Jaceres, yeah.
Yeah, which I mean, obviously that's relevant to both of them hurting, but it could be a sign that maybe there's some more fellowship there between them than the other side of the family.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm thinking that they're going to wind up getting together, to be honest with you, to strengthen the houses.
Yeah, it'd be hot.
Hot and heavy on that ship. He's the master of the seas.
Look, man, I love the dragons. I love the fire, the swords.
Get us some water.
So the incest is why I watch Game of Thrones.
You gotta be thirsty.
Drink water.
But
Deer Park for Lannisters.
Anybody who would start the series now and then watch Game of Thrones after? Oh man!
Oh, gee, what?
They don't even know.
And
we're just dipping our toe with House.
Not even exactly.
You know how I thought that the kid that stole the dragon was spying on Damon and Rhaenyra? I was like, and I was thinking that he was actually going over there to scoop out them doing it, and I started thinking about the Lannisters. I said, you know what? If that was Jaime, he would have killed them right now.
Yeah.
But
maybe he'd be a three-eyed raven.
But I think that I'm glad that they didn't do it in that kind of way, because it's like, okay, it becomes like too campy to the point where it'll take me out of it if they did it like that. So I'm glad he was like on another part of the island, and then you have this other stuff going on the other side. So I'm glad it's like, oh, guess who I found out on the beach, Mom? Who? I saw my uncle and I saw my aunt getting their groove on the beach, shaking boots. What? You're kidding me. I'm going to go tell your Uncle Otto now. Then Uncle Otto becomes Gossip Girl. Then he winds up telling his friends, and then that person tells their friends. And guess what? Now you actually have this war going down inside the whole entire area that we had at the end of the show. So I'm glad they didn't do it in that kind of way. I'm glad that the kid had his own separate story from that. Otherwise, I think it would have actually took me out of that part.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I like all of that, how you put that all together. I guess they invented the game of telephone, to be honest with you. But it's I do like that, because you're right. It would be campy because we've seen it done before so many times. Like, oh yeah, we've seen, you just happen to be in the same area at the same time that this is going on. Okay, like, I mean, it's like that scene in Endgame, right? There's no way. I understand why they did the whole A-team shot. I got that. But there's no way they were all in the same vicinity at the same time in that exact moment. Yeah. So sometimes I do think like they should take those liberties as, all right, well, let's split the scene up. Like, we'll have one thing going on over here, another thing going on over here. So I do like how they didn't connect. And I also am curious to your point from earlier when you said, are they going to explore that at some point with the next 10-year jump, and how that, are we going to see flashbacks? Do we know of any of that information?
No. See with this last one. So.
True. Yeah. I mean, maybe we'll get some further down the line, at some point, because we do have the one girl. I forgot her name. She was playing with the spider.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I liked how the brother was like, "Really? So this is gonna be my queen?" He goes, "Well, at least we have something in common. We both like long legs."
Take on Targaryen. What a maverick.
I'll have what he's having.
Listen.
See, but I wonder if she's being set up to be maybe not a three-eyed raven, but in a way some sort of oracle still, or maybe a witch of sorts. I don't know, because she's very into. She's very unique. We'll put it that way. Yeah.
We'll get into poisons next. Yeah.
That would be interesting. I would like to see some revenge on that. It's like, okay, so you think of me as like the weakest link. Okay, well, I'm going to take you out and whack you.
Yeah.
So I definitely like that.
Political pawn. Like, no.
But see, I feel like, and I was thinking this earlier, this entire franchise is very much like watching maybe a strategy game come to life. And there's the scene with Laris in the background. He just gives me spider vibes. Yeah. Not so much like a Varys type of spider, but more like a Littlefinger type of spider. I have no trust in this guy at all. So,
come on, he burned the guy alive.
Exactly. So it's just like, how are all these other pieces going to fit in this overall puzzle that we're getting? I wonder what he's going to do next in this next 10 years.
I'm going to touch on a point on that. Okay. Sorry, go on ahead, Nick, and I'll make my point in a minute.
Oh, yeah, so I was in. He's literally the mob boss right now. Like, he's the head of his family. He's got his own underground assassin gang. Like, a lot of the Westeros doesn't really stand a chance.
See, I'm thinking with Otto, he's basically strategy. So you have him working that part out, and then you have Ball Bag on the ship whacking people. So I'm thinking that if she wants something done and want to prove a point, she'll go to him if she needs something taken care of. And I like how sneaky he is, though. He just gets under my skin like Littlefinger, and he has a little smirkiness to him that's worse than Littlefinger. But you can definitely see where he's going with it, though, with the chess pieces. Though he's coaching her and telling her, "Look, in order for us to take this person down, we have to take this other person down." And then you have Otto's doing a political thing with her and said, "Look, just stick in with it a little bit more, and then I'll come on ahead and I'll come on and help you."
Yeah. So interesting with that scene, though. Allison, when he offered his services again at the funeral, she was like, "No, like, I'm hesitant on this." So, like, there might still be a shred of good in her, but then I think the eye cutting just tossed that out the window.
Right, and let's talk about that. Let's talk about that scene, because we talked about everything else. So I think that this should be the key element right now with this. So I definitely like how basically all the kids winded up beating the crap out of each other, and and then I'm glad that the other kid got tired of the other kid and threw the dirt in his eye, and then winds up cutting his eye open, losing an eye. So I definitely like how he's now able to fight and try and take care of himself and not try and take any crap off that douchebag anymore.
Yeah.
And then to get dragged into the whole entire thing with Viserys, and then we also see Rhaenyra and the rest of the families, and wondering what the heck is going on. So I definitely like how they do this. And then, of course, you have that whole entire thing with Allison. He goes, "Well, he took my kid's eye, so guess what? We need to go right ahead, and I need to take his eye." I'm like, "What?" I was like, "You need to sit your butt down somewhere." I'm like,
not gonna lie, when she was holding the knife to Rhaenyra's eye, I was hoping it would do it. Like, don't get me wrong, it would suck for Rhaenyra, and for Allison's character, it would stoop her even further than I think the cut did. But part of me was just like, let's see that eye come out.
See, I just thought of several things as you said that. One, clearly we have an ancestor of Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. He actually threw some dirt in the kid's eye.
Yeah.
So you have that. And did you guys notice, like I think when they changed the screen in the background for on HBO, the eye of Vagar is actually the knife that was being used, and I thought that was a really cool effect to have there.
Little cool foreshadowing.
Yeah.
Good catch.
And so just Alicent has gone so far now at this point. And it's crazy because all of this seems to stem from when they were kids and how like these adults plant these things in their minds and now they're older and they're having to actually deal with those problems that have molded them into what they are now. And I think that attributes a lot to the writing. I think that's brilliant. This is clearly one of the best shows on TV like right now. They have
hands
not
down.
missed at all.
Yeah.
This is brilliant stuff, honestly, at the end of the day.
Like I was telling Nick with the last episode, I didn't find anything nitpicky. Well, maybe just some of the dragons feel like a CW network sometimes whenever they're riding on the dragons and look like behind a green screen. I know that dragons are not real, but I want to feel some type of feel of realistic to where you can actually feel like that you're riding on that dragon with them.
But
If you believe they are.
I got one on my high school ring, so yeah. But that's the beauty of this show, though, is the fact that I feel like there's a lot of redeemable stuff that they finally worked out. They actually know what they want to do, and none of the other writers are in a rush to do other projects, and that was the biggest downfall with that last season. It's like, oh, we got a Star Wars job now. Screwed Game of Thrones. Go over to Star Wars. They don't even get the job.
Yeah.
So,
and it was still bad.
So, but the writing is so good, Josh. I mean it. This is actually the best show, like you mentioned, is on TV right now. And and then the other part, though, too, I thought for sure that Alicent was going to stab Rhaenyra. I thought for sure she was gone whenever you see the blood dripping on her. I'm like, oh crap, is she dead? Because that wound looked like it was cut deep.
Yeah.
And everything, and that was. But now Rhaenyra knows what Alicent's up to and what she's trying to do now, versus before when she wasn't out in the open and she was doing all this whispering and stuff like that. Yeah, it was whispered among other people, but now, like Rhaenyra said, now people know who you actually are and what you are. Now that you've been exposed.
Yeah.
And then you have this other scene with where Viserys is actually trying to call the guards off to not try and kill, not try and take the kid's eye as well. And he's like, listen to me. You're not going to take that kid's eye or anything like that. And do you hear me, Alicent? You're not going to do it. I'm not going to allow you to do it. Then she gets Mr. Shitface, the one that is still holding. Yeah, still Sir Christian. Yeah, he's like, yeah, I'll serve my queen. I'll go ahead and do it. Yeah. So, so then of course Sir Christian gets stopped, and he doesn't do anything. And then, and then the kids said, those kids are bastards. And then Viserys just looks at him like The Rock. He goes, what are you talking about? That they're bastards? What do you mean? I know that Viserys knows, right? But Viserys knows, but he loves them and accepts them for who they are. That's the thing about him.
Something that I think he could have done in the situation different that would have helped out. I mean, it's obviously hindsight 2020, but when they look over at Alicent, right? And then he looks over at his own kids, and he looks at Rhaenyra's kids, and he looks at her. Like, he even made the metaphor in the episode before. Sometimes kids just come out with different colored hair, right? And I thought that the metaphor was appropriate then. I think he could have applied it to his own family and been like, look at all of my kids. They all just have blonde hair like me, but my wife has black hair or brown hair.
Red hair, you're right.
Yeah. Like, why don't any of them look like her?
I mean, and
Really, the mother?
yeah, maybe someone in the family bloodline had brown hair at one point.
Exactly.
It's all your genetics. I mean,
But yeah, go ahead, Josh.
Could you make the argument that even still, like, I mean, it'll be hard to explain that just a bit at the same time, though, with Rhaenyra's kids.
Yeah.
Just because of, well, they don't have the locks, right? And they don't have the silver hair either. So it's like, well, I mean, this is kind of questionable.
And also, too, they're white. So it's like.
Right. And see, that's another thing. I was talking to somebody about this the other day. Oh, we were on Multiverse and we were discussing this. And they were saying like Don and Joe, you're saying like at the point the skin didn't really matter. But to me, I was thinking, I'm like, well, if you're really trying to be, accurate, obviously these kids do not look mixed at all.
No.
At all. So there's your answer right there. They are not his kids.
I thought about that too, Josh. I'm like, okay, is there no blackguards or anything around to where you can sleep with and try to be accurate to the race that you're married to? Or is this all you got?
Valerian cousin is cool that knows what's going on.
A great uncle or something that you can sleep with? Or Damon could actually get someone off the street for you if you needed to. I mean,
it's kind of like that Cat Williams skit where he's in jail talking to his wife, and he's like, "That one is mine."
Or like on Rush Hour 2 with Chris Tucker, or the one on Rush Hour 2 where Chris Tucker walks into the massage parlor and goes, "Oh yeah, I like that one right there. Yeah, that's the one I want. Oh yeah, she got to come too. My neck is kind of hurting right there, Oh, and I got a sore back, so yeah, I'm gonna need her." And Jackie Chan's like, "Well, what about me?" So then that's Damon. So, but the marriage thing to me worked because of the fact that, yeah, we have a time jump, but other than that, though, they've been showing us all season that they're going to be together.
Yeah.
So this is just settling the factor that they are now together. And now they're mixed up in this whole entire thing now where basically it looks like that she was having an affair, which she was. Because I like how he comes in there. I like how the father comes in there and he just comes out of nowhere, like I mentioned before. But now he wants to play ball. After 10 years of them being married, now the dude comes in and is like, "You know what? I'm sorry that you raised our kids by themselves while I was off at other whorehouses looking at other men. But I want to raise our kids now in an environment. I want to actually give birth to your kids." Dude, you should have said that after the fourth white person that was born, not after the...
No, sir, or maybe even never the first one. I'm like, all right, we cannot do this again. We need to at least get 3 out of the 4.
That's what I thought was going to happen, though. I'm going to be real with you, man. I thought, like, okay, she's going to sleep with him, and then she's going to gather her pickings of any kind of person that's not in the kingdom, and she's going to shag, and then go back over to the other her old man, and they're going to knock boots, and they're just going to be knocking boots.
So my question is, did the first one happen in a 3-way? Because then it's like mistakes were made. The future king consort.
I look how you try to.
Like, there was nothing.
You're a lawyer.
Things were not inserted correctly.
Yeah, like they both got it done, but one of them got it done.
Oh, cannot copy key.
Like, there's a little Valerian in there. It helped. A lot more little Valerians had to die in order for.
It's like, I'm only a quarter of a Valerian. Oh man, but
the kid comes out looking like just like he does now, but he's just like a little bit gay.
And now my show is canceled.
We know it's true born activity.
This was a reason why we had technical difficulties.
I'm just kidding. Canceled in 2022 for being gay.
True.
It's if you're against it.
Okay.
Especially if it's a child. Yeah. Now you might.
Yeah, but all in all, great episode. I enjoyed it. Some people were like, "Well, I can't see anything." This is also the same director that directed one of the episodes from Game of Thrones, where it was made scenes way too dark. Now on my cell phone, when I was watching it on my lunch break, I'm like,
Same.
yeah, it was too dark. But going onto my TV, I was able to see everything just fine.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, so it's how you have your adjusting to and what you're watching.
Yeah, so you gotta
You know?
calibrate your television or something like that.
Yeah, this is not a show for your TV or your cell phone. You know,
No.
This is you gotta sit at home, put it on the big screen, turn off the lights, get
Yes,
some popcorn, wine, and weed, and enjoy the show.
Accessory of
that
Damon
is
getting it.
That's a great evening. That is a great. You got a front row seat to some.
I need to do
good
that as a
old talking.
promo.
The show is brought to you by Cresco Labs.
Make sure you squeeze it before you tease it. I mean,
Whoa. Bonk.
all right.
So wait.
So anyway,
I got a question. So what you're saying is technically, we saw Rhaenyra and Crispin Cole porking before the boar even showed up.
exactly.
So when the boar bored them or gored them, it led them to go on ahead and start porking.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Exactly.
There it is. I will
There
never
it
look
is.
at Charlotte's
Black and
Web
white.
ever the same.
There it is, in black and white. But anyways, guys, this has been a blast. I mean, I love doing this after show on Wednesdays. It's just a perfect way to actually geek out over our favorite show and stuff like that. I do appreciate Nick taking on his time and also Josh as well. I know that everyone's been busy and everything, so this is just awesome to be able to do this.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Absolutely.
it was. Love coming on the show.
Thanks, guys. So, with that being said, that's gonna be the end of the episode for this review. But I'm gonna try and do my She-Hulk review with conversations with ... podcast, and we're gonna be doing our She-Hulk review for the last 2 episodes, and then after that, we're gonna do one separate episode by itself because we've been combining all the episodes together and doing it that way. So we're going to have something lined up pretty soon. Tomorrow night, I'm not going to have anything going. Yes, Josh.
Question for you. How, without saying anything or spoiling anything, how have you been feeling about like She-Hulk at
I
this
love it.
point?
I like it a lot.
I'll be honest with you. I love the first 3 episodes were great,
Mm-hmm.
and then it gets into where I'm like lukewarm.
You
Like
didn't
basically.
the episode?
Okay, so here's the thing. I like aspects of certain of the episodes. I'm not hating on She-Hulk and its whole entirety, but I will say this: I like the wedding stuff. Didn't like the lawyer stuff, and I also didn't like the demon stuff. But I like the dating stuff in the episode because it feels more realistic in a sense.
Yeah.
And so it felt more real.
I just
Because
like how all the Marvel shows have had like the exact same recipe, and now it's like, all right, we got one where it's like, hey, she's a superhero for sure. Doesn't know it yet. Just starting to tap her dip her toes in it. But it's like at the same time, like we're getting like a decent lawyer show about funny hypothetical situations in the super world.
Right.
Yeah.
And I dig the show and everything. It's just like certain elements does not work for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm glad that everybody else is working for it. But as far as the show in its entirety, it's not for me. But as for certain aspects, I like it.
Gotcha. Yeah, because
Yes, Nick.
Watch Lord of the Rings?
Not yet. I'm trying to. Here's the thing. I have too many shows that I'm watching to the point is like I gotta watch Andor, then I gotta watch this, then I gotta watch this one. I'm like, look, I have ADD. I need to watch.
But when you watch Lord of the Rings, give it faith. It's a slow ass burn. Like it starts off with like a sweet battle scene, and then it's like 3 episodes of talking. But this last episode was wild.
I will say the latter half of episode 3 is really what will pull you in.
Yes. Yeah.
That will definitely pull you in. And this great wave episode. I'm almost finished watching it, but things are about to get real really quickly.
Oh, have you not finished the most recent episode?
Not yet. I can't wait. I'm excited. I've been hearing nothing but great things about it. So all I know is I've had so much faith in this show.
Yeah.
Because I love Lord of the Rings, and I know, like, okay, some people say, well, I mean, your first episode should be a bang, right? But I'm like, well, if it starts slow, but then you start to get that build up over time, and then those punches really start landing, then you'll just be like, oh, that was genius. Like, you won't expect it. And when it really starts to take off, it takes off. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, dude, you're gonna enjoy the end of that episode so much. Oh my god.
That's what I'm hoping for. But another reason why I haven't been watching that much shows is because I'm still doing the wedding stuff. And matter of fact, I'm getting married on the 15th. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. So on the 15th, I'm getting married. So therefore, it's like, okay, what shows can I watch that I can pay attention to and be able to do reviews on? And so basically, I picked out 2 shows, She-Hulk and this show. And so I'm like, okay, so what I'll do is I'll do one whole show after I'll do all my binging after the Lord of the Rings stuff is over with. I'll do all my binging there, then do one complete whole episode and review on the whole entire show in its entirety, just like I do with Cobra Kai.
Nice.
So that's what I'm doing with that, and I think that's how I'm going to handle Andor, because right now, here's the thing. I remember when Game of Thrones first came out, and it became like a headache for me because I have ADD. I'm not joking about that when I say I have ADD. I do have ADD. So when I'm seeing all these houses, House of Lannister, the Lannisters, this, I'm like, okay, this is too much for me. I need a break. So I took like a whole month away from Game of Thrones on the first season and bought the DVD. And so I came back to it and I started loving it. And then I was able to catch up and be like, okay, so now I understand it. I understand where each bloodline works and how it works, how this universe works. With some shows, I feel like it's just too much for me to handle sometimes. We're at a point where I'm supposed to enjoy the show, but I'm actually having anxiety over it. And if I'm having anxiety over it, then I shouldn't be watching it if it's where I can't focus on something. So basically, I handle 2 shows at one time. It helps me be able to focus and also do my other movie review shows too. So it's like I have to draw a line somewhere. I can't do it all. So that's right.
I completely understand, because now I feel I've been caught up. John, as you know, I'm in a play, so I've been doing that work and just trying to find more time to make these videos. It's like so many ways to just promote now that sometimes you feel like you're taking away time from like one thing, putting it to another. Then you feel like you're not putting enough time into the other thing. So I get that. Like, I haven't been to the theater maybe 3 or 4 weeks, and it's bothering me.
I haven't been to the theater since Thor.
Really?
Yep. I semi-retired from the theater after Thor, and it's not because it put me in a negative space or anything like that. It's just that I knew that I needed to sacrifice my time and energy into the wedding and planning that.
No, that's understandable. So
therefore, I do these little shows. I do little small trivia stuff now. Basically, I did 2 episodes of the I did 1 episode of the foreshadowing, and that's just for YouTube. And that's for the Departed thing I did. And then I did trivia and movie facts about Nightmare on Elm Street. And that's just for YouTube. Then I focus my non-spoiler. What's that?
The house that I just got is on Elm Street.
Oh, that's funny.
Oh, shit. Wow. Beware when you sleep, man.
Like, going off of everything, though, like, it can get too frustrating. And that's also too, to the point where it's like, okay, I have to do this and this and that. But I do all my PR stuff in the morning times. I'll go in there, crop out the segments and everything, and upload it, and hopefully somebody will download the show or watch the show and do it that way. And then with non-spoiler reviews, I just go on ahead, I watch the movie, and then I'll go on ahead and do a spoiler review for the podcast. And that's how I've been balancing everything else, so that way I don't feel like, I have to go here, I have to go everywhere. And that's how I'm basically found balance with everything. So it was like, because I was like, okay, I need to find a balance somewhere, because I'm wearing myself out, because I have this show, to do. And I'm like, I can't do it all. I'm just one person. So it was like, you know what? Other YouTube content creators are doing Andor. Other YouTube content creators are going to do that. So they're going to gravitate towards them. So I'll just do what I feel comfortable that I want to do for me, for my show. And that's how I've been doing it.
And there's nothing wrong with it. You got to make your sacrifices. And whatever your niche is, you just kind of, you pick and choose and you just hammer into it. You hammer into it. People find it. Like there's so many movies right now that I want to watch. There's some more DVDs that I know I want to get. But at the same time, you know, you got bills, you got to pay for things. Got to make sure your car works. Got to make sure you get the work on. Tired of doing these 12-hour shifts. It's pissed me off. But like, honestly, but it's just like, you know, that's why I have a lot of respect for YouTubers and those who really put their time into hammering at these things, because it does take time to develop a following. Like everybody's not going to jump in right away, but all you need is that one video, maybe, or that one good rant, or maybe that one great episode of guest, or whatever it may be for you. That'll just boom, send you off there, and that's when everything starts rolling in. So, I mean, it's a tough thing, but it's where I do believe it's definitely worth it in the end. You know,
most definitely. I love what I'm doing. I don't ever feel like this is work or anything like that. And if it did, I would actually stop doing what I'm doing. But I'm having fun. I'm having a blast. I get to talk about Joey Jerkoff doing stuff on the show and things like that. So, you know, I'm having a great time doing what I'm doing. And by the way, this episode is actually sponsored by BetterHelp, so you guys can go in and get better.
Great segue.
But seriously, guys, I can't wait to do this next week with you. And always until next time, be real, have fun, and bye-bye.